Hi students, I'm going to show you how to write a rationale. Writing a rationale is something that requires a lot of thought, preparation, and planning. It's something that you should do before you begin writing, and then you should edit it afterwards to make sure that you've done what you've said you're going to do. The rationale is important because not only does it help you to get 2 marks in a written task 1, it also sets out to the marker exactly what you are planning on doing. So they need to be able to read it and see exactly what you're planning on doing so then they can see whether you've actually done that or not. So to begin with, I've just had a look at the document called Rationale Checklist, and I've read every point carefully and then I've turned it into a checklist for myself. I find that strategy works well because if I read something, I then need to be able to demonstrate that I've understood that. And so by turning it into a checklist for myself, that helps me to know whether I'm on track. So I'll show you that in a second, but we've got the 5 points here. Is there a link to the course material? Why have you chosen this text type? Who is the audience? How is your text demonstrating knowledge of that text type? And how did you meet the learning outcomes? So for your first point here, it's about topic or text studied in class. Now I need to explain that carefully. Topic is one of these ones here. So for example, gender, inequality, constructions of masculinity and femininity. That would be a topic. So you might say, my topic is on gender, constructions of femininity. So you might be really clear. Or it could be text. You might, for example, have read a feature article in class talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. You might then use that stimulus to write your own article about racial equality movements in Australia. So that would be a text studied in class. You're saying, we've read this text in class and I'm showing my understanding of that text by writing my own version on a different topic. The topic ones are probably the most common ones, so that's just something to keep in mind. Now, it says here part 1 and 2 topics should have something to do with language, communication, and culture. Because we are doing part 1, it must be something to do with culture and context, not something to do with mass communication. So please keep in mind that whatever you choose must be about how language is created in that particular context and in that particular culture. Course outcomes are these 3 here. So audience and purpose affect the structure and content of text. So that could be something like you might write your own tabloid style article and say, well, because the audience are people who are really interested in whether or not a star flaunted her bikini body as she, relaxed on an isolated beach, then I'm going to make sure that my language mimics that because that is relevant to the audience and the purpose. And so that's how it affects the structure and the content. Analyzing the impact of language changes really pertains to whether, you might be showing that you've understood what an old text, so maybe a text from the 19th century and a contemporary text, what they have in common and what's changed. And finally, demonstrate an awareness of how language and meaning are shaped by culture and context. This is a pretty versatile one. This might be where you are writing a BuzzFeed article and you're saying that you understand that the type of language used is going to be shaped by the time period in which you are reading. Okay, so I mentioned before that I have my checklist here and I turned it into my own personal checklist. So I basically have rewritten what these 5 points are here into my own checklist. Now at the top here, I've written, remember the how and the why and the to what effect. When I'm writing something, I like to give myself little pointers to make sure that I'm meeting what I know I'm supposed to be meeting. So I know that if I were a student and I had my teacher marking this, my teacher would be thinking in their head, how, why, to what effect at all times. So I've got that written there in bold to remind myself and I keep referring back to it. So I've written here course material, topic or text, because that is just like the first one, course material, topic or text. And I've said my topic is language and gender, but I've been more specific than that. I'm looking at constructions of femininity, women as the moral centre, and I'll get to my text in a moment. My text is a Sydney Morning Herald article about man's drink driving being blamed on wife's absence. So this is my text here. Wife's absence led to Silverchair drummers drinking before car crash, court told. Why have I chosen this text type and how the text type lends itself well to this topic? So that's just me writing in my own words this second point here. So why have you chosen this text type? Now you'll see that I've written quite a bit here. I have written in this little box, how many words is that? I've written 156 words. I haven't proofread any of this because I'm just writing this for my own audience, which is me. So this is me just saying what I'm thinking of doing and why I think it's important. Same with target audience. You'll see that my target audience is about the same, 185 words actually. Look, I've even got spelling mistakes in there because this is just me figuring out my thoughts. You figure out your thoughts so much better when you actually write them down. That's how you solidify them. Stylistic and structural conventions of the genre. I just went and listed a couple that I could think of. How many have I got there? 10 or something like that. And then learning outcomes. I've chosen one and I just kept writing and thinking, how have I chosen this? Like what am I doing with this? So in total, I think I've written something like 800 and something words, I think. Oh, you can never see when you highlight it like that. No, it won't show you, but I checked before. It's about 800 words or so. And I need to write a rationale of 300 words. But I get to that 300 words by first writing the 800 words. That's what you do. You need to have a lot of material and then you cut it down. So I've written here draft rationale because I know it will be a draft. I know I'll edit it numerous times before I submit it. I've then divided it into 3 paragraphs. I've got 3 little subheadings here for myself, which basically condenses down those 5 points. So what is my topic and why did I choose it? What text type have I chosen and why? And how have I met the course outcomes? I've written these 3 things in here to make sure that I'm writing the, what I need, basically. So now I'm going to read it out to you. I wrote this and then I edited it numerous times because at the moment when it is 299 words, but initially it was about 350. So then I got it down to 322. Then I got it down to 305. Then I got it down to 299. And I do that by relentlessly reading every single word to see what words I can cut out. So I'll read it out to you and then we'll see the checklist and we'll see if I've done what I need to do. My written task 1 is on the part 1, language and cultural context topic, language and gender, depictions of femininity. Specifically, I have written about the ways in which women are held accountable for the actions of men. This written task builds on class content as we examined a range of texts depicting gender, which allowed me to understand the ways in which language constructs femininity. My stimulus, an article published in the Sydney Morning Herald, implicitly blames a wife for her husband's drink driving. I wanted to challenge the representation of women as the moral guardian of men, as this damaging stereotype places the onus to regulate behaviour on women and thus restricts their actions. My chosen text type is an opinion article which would be published in The Guardian's opinion section, as this publication caters to progressive readers who would be receptive to my message as they would frequently consume similar articles. My article mimics the style of Guardian columnist and feminist writer Jessica Valenti, as her restrained, intelligent style allowed me to make my point without causing offence, which is important as issues pertaining to gender can often make readers feel uncomfortable. I have utilised the features of an opinion column, including constructing a voice through the use of anecdotes and personal pronouns, carefully chosen statistics to support my claims, and formal language to lend credit to my message. By writing this article, I have demonstrated my understandings of the ways in which Australian audiences are receptive to feminist issues by utilising my knowledge of the fair go as a call to arms to engage audiences to resist the sexist depictions of women as moral caretakers of men. In doing so, I have demonstrated an awareness of how language and meaning are shaped by culture and context. All right, let's go up. Do I state my course material? Yeah, I do. I say that I've linked it to stuff that I've learned in class. I say what my part 1, I say it's a part 1 written task, and I say what my topic is. Do I say why I've chosen the text type? Yes, I do, because it allows me to get my message across. And I say specifically how this text type lends itself well to the message and content. I say who my audience is, Guardian readers, and I say that and how I'm making it suitable for the Guardian. How is my text type typical of the text type? I have 3 reasons why, and then I have a sneaky little reason in the conclusion when I talk about the call to arms. And how did I meet the learning outcomes? I specifically say how I would meet that by making sure that I understand who my context is as Australians. Now, is this a perfect rationale? Absolutely not. How could it be? I've only spent a short amount of time on it. As I read it out loud, I already saw places where I would change and words that I would change here and there. However, do I think that it meets the requirements? Yes, I do. And can you do this? Yes, you can. Good luck.